George Sedano, Vince Carter, and Chiney Ogwumike are going to be joining us in just a moment from our Los Angeles studio. But I wanted to start our show by bringing in senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, thank you so much for joining me. So we heard that James Harden, he has been cleared from COVID protocols. Zach LaVine, RJ Barrett, among others today. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kevin Durant's 10-day quarantine is up tomorrow. But if they are cleared to play, is it a guarantee we see them on Christmas Day?
Well, Malika, it isn't a guarantee, and certainly players that dynamic, MVP level players in the NBA, they want to be involved in the league's biggest showcase. But they've also been in quarantine, and they've been away from their teams, and they've not been able to ramp up. You look at Giannis, who's playing at home on Christmas Day, and that certainly buys him a little more time to be cleared to play, where Kevin Durant, he's got to travel with the Nets potentially on Friday to play that Saturday game. And so the Nets will know better, really tomorrow, whether Kevin Durant can make that trip. And then once you make the trip, can you get cleared to play? Are you ready to play? And those are going to be certainly, factors for those teams. One thing that still might impact Christmas Day, the league and the Players Association are nearing an agreement, I'm told, to shorten that 10-day quarantine for asymptomatic COVID-positive players, and that based on certain testing, they could get out sooner, perhaps as soon as 6 days. Now, how that might impact some other players who've been in quarantine who could play Christmas Day or play Sunday or Monday remains to be seen. The sides are finishing up details on that agreement. Then they'll share it with the teams in the league. It's going to look, I'm told, something similar to what the NFL did with their quarantines. They changed their protocols recently.
Well, interesting. And we heard Adam Silver on this show say that they were looking at all of those contingency plans of potentially changing those protocols. But Woj, you also had a story with Baxter Holmes on ESPN.com this morning, which detailed the team's maybe frustrations with the league's protocols as they're in this race against COVID. So what exactly are those frustrations centered around?
Well, listen, there are a lot of frustrations around the league, not all with the league itself and the rules, but how they've had to try to manage COVID. But I think when the league decided before the season that they were not going to test daily asymptomatic vaccinated players, that it's created, I think, a frustration on the part of especially teams who've had outbreaks like Chicago, Sacramento, Charlotte, a number of teams who had to start testing more regularly with their other players because positive tests came up. And there are teams who certainly have been playing with COVID positive players who are asymptomatic that the teams didn't just test. And that's going to certainly be a challenge going forward. You're going to have more testing after Christmas into early January that the league's put in, daily game day testing for players. But I think you talk to some teams around the league and they start to say, hey, listen, I've got a staff member who tested positive, who may have been around players. I may not test those players. I may not want to know the results. And so while I think certainly, listen, player safety and not having COVID positive players on the floor or traveling or spreading this out, listen, it's certainly a priority, and a lot of teams take it very seriously. But the competitive nature of teams and the desire to keep players out of quarantine, to keep them in the lineup, listen, it's a factor in the decisions of how teams and individual players are viewing how they're trying to navigate this season.
Absolutely. And this is a really deeply reported, highly informative piece. I encourage all of our viewers here to go and check it out on ESPN.com. Woj, thank you as always for joining us. Hey, Sedano, let's break down these games a little bit more.
All right, Malika, thanks. Yes, we will. Welcome to our LA studios here. I'm George Sedano with Chiney Ogwumike, and we're joined remotely by the future Hall of Famer himself, the man who played a record 22 seasons, Vince Carter. Let's start with the news. James Harden is returning in time for the Christmas Day game against the Lakers. So, Vince, what does this mean for Brooklyn?
It means you have a go-to guy. You mean you have a guy that not only is a facilitator, but a guy can make things happen, put eyes on the on the offensive guy and create for everyone else. James Harden, if James Harden plays like we saw him in Houston, this is a good sign for them because, yes, he's been a little tentative, a little hesitant, hasn't been playing his best basketball. But, man, if he gets into old James Harden mode, this is a great sign of having him back, particularly if you don't have Kevin Durant or Kyrie.
I'm right there with you, Vince. You actually stole my whole answer, but it's okay. It's Christmas spirit. I'm not going to be the Grinch. I'm not going to be screwed.
Cheat off your sheet.
But I do agree. You know, I always say this a million times, but it just tells you that I watch a lot of the Rockets games. As a Houstonian, you sort of hope, you know, that he's able to get back to that type of form, especially mentally. You know this, Vince, as a primary option. We saw Paul George start the year well because he knew what it was like to be a primary option for his team. I think it's the same thing for James Harden. Again, this year, he's shooting around 40% from the field, 33.7%, I believe, from three. Those are around his career lows. Opportunities like this, especially to an athlete, when you know, okay, there's no KD. You saw what KD did when he was by himself out there. There's no Kyrie. All right, it's back to me knowing that every shot is the best shot. And so I think it's a Christmas miracle almost that we got a star lined up to play in this game, whereas we did not know that was possible before. So I'm right there with you, Vince. I hope we get to see a little bit more of that fire, that rocket fire, but this time from Brooklyn Nets James.
Yeah, hopefully for James Harden, that kind of shakes him out a little bit of the rut that he's in. But if you're the Nets, I'm pretty sure you want KD in that lineup too. So
absolutely.
We'll see if that's the case. All right, let's get to the Nets' opponent on Christmas Day, which is the Lakers. Yesterday, acting head coach David Fizdale spoke about how Russell Westbrook may be pressing in the absence of Anthony Davis. Let's take a listen.
Some of his plays, he was probably moving too fast or trying to press when things weren't there. And again, these are things that we just had, like I said, we had a great film session. Guys were very open and receptive. And we just talked about connection things, talent that draws all of these players to make sure that that leads to a great shot for us.
So, Chiney, what do you think Fizz means when he says that Russ is pressing?
Well, let me not tell you. Let me show you.
Let's go.
All right, the Lakers, they right now truly need stability. They're 16-16. They're a 500 team. And the reality is Anthony Davis is out for the foreseeable future. Stability comes from the point guard position. And your point guard the last two games had 13 or so turnovers. That's not good. So what Coach Fizdale is saying is less is more. And I'll show you exactly what that means. Roll me the tape, producer Kwaku, baby. All right, Russell Westbrook, this is where he gets himself in trouble. 22 seconds on the shot clock. You have to get a great shot playing team basketball. Instead, he forces when the defense is set up, and you can see his exasperation and also coach's exasperation.
That was a Shackton the other day.
That was definitely a Shackton, but this was not. This was a game-winning play. Look on the other side. This is what he does well. All right, the defense is not guarding you. You force them to react. He sees the help side defense here. We all saw our favorite shot from young Austin Reeves, but this is Russ at his best. When the game is set, we saw LeBron James initiated the play. He forced the defense to clap. He graded a second line of defense, kicked out the assist. That's the Brody in his bag. The difference of picking and choosing your moments, that's what Russell Westbrook has to do, especially now for the Lakers, because they know they need him now more than ever. Coach Tara Vanderveer, my Stanford Hall of Fame, speaking of Hall of Famers today, my Hall of Fame coach used to always tell us less is more, and why? Because winning, that's fun, you know? So at the end of the day, the Lakers, they need to grind out wins because this is an opportunity for them, especially going up against a team less stars.
Yeah, and by the way, I was there. I saw that pass coming right at Austin Reeves. I was standing by the score.
Oh, yeah, he totally served you.
He served me. I feel old. I'm washed. It's okay. But by the way, Austin Reeves fouled on that play. He was fouled on that play.
You're right, sir.
But Vince, forget about the fact that he was fouled. I want to bring you in here. What do you make of what Fizz said?
Well, yeah, I want to add to what Shanae said, really, and it goes into what Fizz says, and you're right. If you're struggling, your team's not scoring well, you're not defending well. Well, one thing you cannot do is turn the ball over. And you can't have your lead guard, your point guard, well, one of your lead guards, turning the ball over at that high of a clip. So for Russ, making the game simple for himself and everyone else, you can see the difference. Forcing it into double teams, yeah, when things are rolling, he can force it in there and you're like, okay, fine. But when your team's not playing well, you have to play under control. Just like that three that he understood. Yes, as a closeout, let me get into the paint. Yes, I see a double team on AD underneath. Make the right pass and you live with the results. Well, the result led in a Reeves three-point winning shot. So Russ has it in him. He just has to play under control. And when he's feeling good, he tends to play under control.
All right, let's move on here. Let's take a look at today's crunch time moment brought to you by Ruffles. Manu Ginobili, a man you faced, Vince, many times, was named a 2022 Hall of Fame nominee. Manu, a four-time champion who made the playoffs in every season of his career. What an accomplishment there with that great run with the Spurs. So, Vince, again, you competed against him many times. How do you remember Manu?
Well, first of all, this is not a surprise. This was a guarantee. I mean, Manu, hey, when you think of Eurostep, where it came from, who do you think of?
Manu.
That man right there, Manu, man. And Manu was amazing and tough to guard because at the time you come in, you were guarding all the superstars. There it is. There's a Euro. Look at it. That guy's just kicking and swiping away. But when you were guarding guys, you didn't see left-handed guys often. And he comes in and goes left, Euro, and oh, man, congratulations to him. But this is what I remember about Manu the most. No, not the most. But this was, in the playoffs, and a big shot for me after missing a shot similar in that corner. And yes, he did the flyby, and he didn't foul, which caused me to pump fake, and I was still able to knock it down. So salute to Manu, to a true Hall of Famer, and he deserves it.
And the flex there by Vince Carter after making that shot. I saw that. You deserve that flex. By the way, if Manu is elected, he would be the first non-American born Latino Hall of Famer. So looking forward to his eventual enshrinement. All right, coming up, Vince Carter.
Ton of games in the NBA last night, but there were still moments in the league and just around the basketball community that made Hoophead smile. So in the spirit of a little bit of holiday cheer, here are some of my favorite moments from last night. So let's start with Miss Fitz. She is a third grade teacher at the Holy Trinity School in Washington, D.C. She lines up her shot and swishes in a deep three-pointer. And look at the faces of her students. She won them free hot chocolate. I mean, teachers, they are superheroes, and the school is currently accepting donations for financial aid scholarships. It's just awesome. So on to the league. Jordan Nwora of the Milwaukee Bucks. It's off a pass from Drew Holiday. He puts his defender on skates. I mean, my goodness, but no. That's not all. As he's getting back on defense, he recreates the skate. Thanasis Antetokounmpo loves it. My goodness. Christian Wood, he did kind of put him on a poster later, but that's neither here nor there. And then last but certainly not least, ISO Joe. So the silver lining of teams needing to sign these extra players with COVID is seeing some familiar faces get a little bit of run. So ISO Joe hit this bucket playing in his first game for the Celtics since 2002. It's a quintessential ISO Joe shot, and the crowd gave him a standing ovation. So just a little bit of holiday cheer to throw your way. Sedano, take it away.
All right, Malika, thank you. We need to get Miss Fitz versus Steph somewhere on a basketball court pregame or something. All right, I'm back here with Janae, and of course, it's time for Vince Carter's own segment entitled The Upper Room, where we'll run through.
Upper Room.
Yes, sir. So we'll run through some of the great dunks from this past week, and we'll see if any of these players will be granted entry into that upper room. So, Vince, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, first up, Dame Lillard. Let's check out Dame. What do we got here?
So they said Dame Lillard had abdominal injury and was hurting and was out and then comes back and he does this. Dame with the crossover to the leaner. I mean, okay, young fella, like, tell him everything's good in the ab. Yeah, show you. I mean, he got a little hops there.
I like it.
One more time. Cross him over with a leaner. Like, oh, okay, another angle.
Hang time right there, Vince.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Hang time.
Let's go to the next one. Now, that was Dame against some young legs of Charlotte. Here's some young legs. The Time Lord, Robert Williams.
Young legs. Robert Williams here. You see, I mean, just little contact in the legs. And Shanae, like we talked about, it's all about concentration. But look at where he gets hit. He gets hit on the lower body.
Yep.
Usually when you get hit there, you're coming down.
You're done.
He's still going up and flying. I mean, that's impressive. And he did it with his offhand at that. Like,
Exactly. The left little tap in.
Last one, another young leg here. Isaac Okoro with the two-hand stuffer.
Look, and then what makes it crazy, when he flexes, he's looking at all the people hitting his body. It was so many people, he couldn't look at all of them. It's like, he dunks it, he's like, I look at you on the ground, I look at you, turn around, and where's the third one?
This is my pick, Vince. This is my pick.
All right.
Where is he?
And because it's because it's the holiday season, I have one extra one. Lastly, Christian Wood. Look how fast that happened. We need to do that one more time so Vince can see it again. Here we go. Here's another angle.
1, 2, I see you.
Oh, I love that.
That moment, say it with your chest, is what he said. He said, oh, you gonna fall back on my guy? Well, let me put you on a poster with my chest. You see, like, takes a body, man.
All right.
Golly. So, Shanae, you said which one was your favorite?
Oh, I had to go with the one where 3 of the Rockets went down. Like 3 bodies all around.
The Isaac Okoro one, right? That was your favorite one?
I do.
All right. All right, so Vince, we've seen them all. Shanae's got her favorite. Any of these players going into the upper room?
Okay.
Let me see. Christian Wood dunked with the comeback. Security. Security, please remove the rope.
Oh.
Please remove the rope. Isaac Okoro, welcome to the upper room, baby.
There it is. The young man from the Cavs who are surging this holiday season as he surged to the basket gets in. So let's take one more look at that dunk from Isaac Okoro.
This
Let's take a little look at it. I mean, look at getting down the center of the lane and, like, you know, when you're ready for liftoff, right here, nothing can stop you. And I mean, he was able to take the hit, still great body control right here, and just said, all 3 of y'all take a ride to the upper room with me.
Nothing can stop you. I'm all the way up.
Yo,
there we go.
bodies.
There we go.
Yes,
I am all the way here for this.
Sir.
Congratulations, Isaac Okoro.
Yeah,
Merry
Okoro.
Christmas to Isaac
Nigeria.
Okoro there from Vince Carter, letting you in the upper room. All right, coming up on the last in Game 7 of the 2000 West Finals against Portland, the Lakers finished off a 15-point fourth quarter comeback with that alley-oop. Epic alley-oop from Kobe to Shaq, and Bob Costas was on that call. Great call by Bob back then. As many calls as he's had, I'm sure. And then from 2002,
I remember this.
Nikki Teasley hits the WNBA Finals game-winning three-pointer. 2 seconds left in Game 2 as the Sparks won their second consecutive championship. Yeah.
Sorry.
And then the Mamba clinched his 5th championship by helping the Lakers beat the Celtics in Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals. Metta World Peace hit monster threes to put Boston away as well. That was number 5 for Kobe. And speaking of Kobe, the farewell game, 60 points in his final game of his career back in 2016, the most by a player in a final regular season game in NBA history. At 37,
crazy.
He was also the oldest to ever score 60 points. So, Janae, what was your favorite Staples Center moment?
As a young person, that Kobe final game, obviously. But as a player for the WNBA, my favorite moment, besides playing against the Sparks and playing on the Sparks, has the legendary Spark, Lisa Leslie, the first player in WNBA history to dunk right there, 2 dribbles from midcourt, July 30th, 2002. She just set the standard for what women could do and continue to do each and every day, being fierce, being feminine, doing things, businesswoman. Like, everything I do is like, everything I think is, what would Lisa Leslie do?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my favorite moment.
Yeah, against the Miami Soul, by the way, my old WNBA squad.
Which became
the Connecticut Sun.
I love you, man.
Yes.
That's why I love you, George.
There you go.
I love you,
All right,
sir.
Vince, what about you?
Oh, well, I played 22 years. A lot has happened there. So,
Okay, flex.
2000. Ooh, 2000. Wait, that was 20. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Of course you do something with the upper room.
So that felt like you hit the pause button, straight up. Like, it felt like you hit the pause button, caught the ball, and then dunked it. It was crazy. That's nuts.
So I used to tell those guys, I was like, hey, man, just throw it up there, and I'll figure it out. And D Brown literally threw it up there, and that's what we came up with. 2
quick moments for me. Kobe's 81-point game at Staples Center obviously was one to remember.
Yes.
I think everyone remembers where they were watching that one. It was popped up on SportsCenter, on NBA TV, everywhere. And then Beyonce and Prince performing at the Grammys. I got to shout out Hollywood. Come on.
Yes.
All right. Thanks to everyone for watching. The Frisco Football Classic presented by Ryan.
Now, look, Draymond Green is known for his great defensive mind, and he recently sat down with our Doris Burke to break down video, which you've seen on this show. This is the best content that you didn't see from that sit-down, with Draymond explaining why Steph Curry is a better defender than you think and what he expects from Klay Thompson. When he returns, take a look.
Steph's a winner, and he wants to win.
Curry for the record. It's good! There it is! Stephen Curry!
And he understands the importance of having a great defense if you're going to win. On the flip side of that, for all these years, you've had teams pick on him. Again, Steph's a competitor. And so you're not just going to keep singling him out and he's just going to take that. I think the difference is he's so grounded in his body with his strength. He moves better laterally, much better than he used to move laterally. And he is strong. And when I say strong, I mean strong. Like if you go in our weight room and we're doing dumbbell bench press, Steph's in the 100 club. Not many people get to the 100 club. His legs, super strong. That change happened last year. From the time he walks in this facility, the first place he goes, to the locker room, get dressed, and into the weight room.
Greatness comes at a price.
It does, and he has put the effort into that. And I think as much as it's shown in the offensive end where he's finishing, he's knocking guys off their feet, bigger guys off their feet, as much as it's shown there, I think it's shown even more in his defense. And I think that is the most beautiful thing, to watch a guy actually put the work in and the improvements that he's made on the defense side. Well, as I said before, he is one of our best defenders. Mike Brown has this sheet where he grades us defensively and who makes the biggest jump. Over the last month, Steph is the highest person. He's like a 96.
The Warriors are NBA champions again.
What I will say is, you know what championship teams look like, what they feel like, what their locker rooms are like. Is this a team that you can envision in that way?
I think for this team, we trust each other, we believe in each other. I think our defense is what we're trying to build this whole thing around. I think we're doing a great job of that. Offensively, I think we have a ton of weapons on the offensive end, including Steph Curry, who's probably, as I've said before, probably the most dangerous weapon you can have in the NBA today. But Klay Thompson's coming back.
A long three for Thompson. He is putting on three-point shot exhibition.
If he's a shell of himself, which I'm going into this expecting him to be a small shell of himself, it's totally unfair to him to think, man, I got the same Klay Thompson coming back that was with me in 2019. That's unfair to him and his process. But even as that tiny shell of himself, you help off if you want to.
Yeah, good luck with that.
You help off if you want to. And there's floor spacing that he's going to bring to the floor. And most importantly, Klay's a winner. He hates to lose. His competitive nature that he will bring to the floor for us, along with his floor spacing. And don't let him be a big shell of himself. If he's just a tiny shell of himself, I like where that puts us as a team. But if he's more of Klay Thompson than I'm even imagining, I absolutely love where that put us as a team. And I think we do have a legitimate chance to compete for a championship.
Now, the Warriors have been near the top of the league in defensive efficiency since Draymond became a starter in 2015. But, Janae, is Draymond your defensive player of the year?
Yes, Draymond Green absolutely is my defensive player of the year. The Warriors are first in defensive efficiency, defensive rating, whatever defensive category you love to summarize defense. This team does not necessarily have a rim protector. This team has a lot of perimeter guys that in the NBA right now, they're 3-and-D that are usually 6'8", 6'9". They don't have too many of those, what we think of with the wing of Philly. This team has done it by committee. And who's the head of that? That's Draymond Green. And I've known Draymond since his days at Michigan State. We both played on Team USA, World University games together. He's always been this guy, committed to the team. I know his numbers don't jump out and say oh, why does this guy get an all-star, when he barely gets, 10 points a game or X. The category, that goes out the window with Draymond Green. When you watch the game, you see his value, how he holds everyone accountable, how he never quits on plays, how he pushes a tempo, how he contests shots, even though he's 6'5". I mean, when I'm in heels, I'm probably as tall as Draymond. He knows it.
No, you're taller.
No, yeah. So, yeah, Draymond Green, I love that he's an example of stats in this category don't necessarily matter when it comes to awards. It's what you bring to the team and the mindset.
Well, they have some good stats, okay? Look, in the Warriors' defensive efficiency, in 12 of their first 30 games, their defensive efficiency has been under 100 points. You know, last year, they only had 11 of those games in 72 games.
Wow.
Like, that's how good their defense has been, and he's the captain of the defense. But I think he wins it this year because who usually wins Defensive Player of the Year?
Centers.
Two centers, rim-protecting centers, or perimeter players like a Kawhi Leonard when he was a Claw, okay?
Yeah.
He's still the Claw, but he's out right now. Draymond is a new paradigm. Draymond is a guy who can legitimately guard positions 1 through 5. He can guard anybody on the court, and that is the new NBA. Positionless basketball, he is the face of that. When you say he's a Draymond Green type, Draymond created that role. There weren't like guys who can guard 1 to 5 before Draymond came in.
No, and that's why the Golden State Warriors and everything that they've been doing has been so new. It wasn't just Steph Curry changing the game. Draymond Green helped that change because he could have a guy be a 5. You saw him guarding Joel Embiid and guarding point guards. But I think he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year. Coming up, Lakers. Woo, LeBron James is hosting the Suns. It's going to be, what do you think, Janae? What did you think? Because you said you had the Suns in this game.
I did, but we all knew that LeBron James was going to come out extremely aggressive without AD, going up against the Suns, who a lot of people have said has now positioned themselves as the best team in the West. But he showed out. 19 points in the first half of 9 of 13 shooting. He was aggressive, but you know it's going to be a story of two halves.
Oh, it's going to be a story of two halves. LeBron James, look, I understand that this man can do it all, but there is a lot more game than just the first half. And in the third quarter, look, Devin Booker, I don't know how it's going to go in. I don't know what he's going to do.
Like, what better defense can you play? His hands were on him.
You can't. And the ball's going to go in because that's what Devin Booker does.
But this is the key play of the game, especially for Lakers fans. LeBron with a beautiful move, but you saw he twisted his ankle. And I think, this is where we go into hoopers, right? Like, hoopers, are you going to sit out or are you not? Right there? I hate watching injuries, but this one, it's a tweak.
Yeah, it's a tweak.
That's a tweak.
There's a tweak.
Not like a whole.
There's a difference between a tweak and a roll. There's a difference between a tweak and a roll, and that was a tweak. But at the end of the day,
Cam Johnson
knocks down the 3. There was just too much of, the Phoenix Suns doing the things that they have done all year, moving the ball, spacing the floor, running in transition. Johnson hits another 3. The Suns defeat the Lakers 108-90. Now, the Suns have an NBA's second-best record and made the finals last season, and they've kept this momentum going this season, winning 24 of their last 26 games.
That's impressive.
That is impressive. And they have the league's best record. Phoenix has improved on the defensive end, also going from 6th to 2nd, and they're behind only the Golden State Warriors in that category. So, Janae, are the defending Western Conference champs better than they were last season?
I don't know if I wore this color for the Suns to bring a little bit of brightness, but they are better. They actually are better. Fan told us about defense. He's making some sound here in the studio. I love it. It's defense. That defensive energy and focus has been important. And I love how a number of their players have improved when it comes to defensively. We know Chris Paul, he wants all the smoke in every matchup. Mikal Bridges, what he did to Steph sort of set the tone for, all right, he's here to stay and could maybe even be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, like top 5 or so. DeAndre Ayton, I think a goal for him is to be a Defensive Player of the Year. He's come out that competitive this year. And, of course, you just have to think overall as a squad, they're hungry. You mentioned it. Finals appearance last year, they wanted to prove everyone that this is not a fluke. You saw last night a game of a team that is complete and trending in the right direction versus a team that has one superstar, LeBron James, without a lot of their key players trying to figure out some answers. The answers are on Phoenix's side right now.
So what has been the theme of the last year or two? Inconsistency. We have players in and out of the lineup. We have injuries. We don't hear about this with the Suns.
No.
And even when they do have players in and out of the lineup with injuries, they don't talk about it. They don't dwell on it. I mean, this could have been the story of Chris Paul's shoulder injury last year, or when he missed the Western Conference, some of the Western Conference finals when he got COVID. But they didn't dwell on it. They didn't get rolled. Like Devin Booker missed a bunch of games with that hamstring injury. It barely caused a blip for them. And I think the fact that the Suns have been able to maintain this level of consistency to where when they do have a key injury or they do have somebody out, even a star, it doesn't faze them. That is the hallmark of a team that everybody knows their roles, and that is a system that can self-sustain even when you lose some of your best players for a certain length of time.
And speaking specifically of the Phoenix Suns and Devin Booker, him being out but then coming back in, they've challenged Devin Booker to be a two-way player, and he's improved his defense tremendously. And I think that's the sign of a team that has championship aspirations. So if you look at the case study of Devin Booker playing both ways, DeAndre Ayton, rim protector, I mean, the loss of Anthony Davis, look at what Ayton did, 19 and 11, super impressive. This is a complete team, and I've noticed this year, especially with the rules and the fouls and, you know, how things have been shifting, defensive teams have the benefit this year.
And then you also want to add the fact that, look at JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee has been a huge pickup for this Phoenix Suns team. It's been so impressive because now, even when DeAndre Ayton misses time, or if DeAndre Ayton's in foul trouble, you bring in another big that can protect the rim, that is a great finisher. He's won an Olympics. He's got 3 championships. So you bring in a very good veteran that fits in his role, that understands his role, and I think that that is impressive. Now, look, on the other side of the game, here's what LeBron James had to say after the loss. Take a listen.
I only played 34 minutes, so obviously, you know, defensive things change when I'm playing at the 5. You know, battling versus a lot of the bigs, but that's fine. It made no difference to me. You know, if I'm on the floor, I got to make plays, offensively and defensively. Obviously, we don't know where we are as far as the lineups and guys in and out. We don't know because of the protocol. So great to get THT back tonight. Obviously, he's been out for a while, so his rhythm was off. You can see in the game, but it's great to get another body back. So as the bodies continue to come back, hopefully we can get as close to whole as possible, you know, in the near future.
All right, now to LeBron's point, the Lakers have now used 17 different starting lineups this season, passing the 76ers for the most in the NBA last night. Now, no Lakers starting lineup has played more than 4 games together this season. So, Chiney, how much pressure is on LeBron with AD out at least a month?
There's a lot of pressure on LeBron James, but it's just a different world that he's operating in. This is his 8th 30-point-plus game in the last 12 games. A couple years ago, we'd be like, if he's scoring 30, it's an automatic win for LeBron, right? The league has changed where he scores 30 and people can actually still compete against them. And I think that's a testament to all the other teams getting their, can I say ish? Getting their ish together and competing. And so there's a lot of pressure on LeBron James. This is a high-risk, high-reward, high-age Los Angeles Lakers squad. At the end of the day, it's almost like Tom Brady. You can never count him out, but right now, it's really difficult. The load he's carried throughout the years has usually amounted in, all right, he can still do it on his own. The league now is you cannot do it on your own. That's why you need Russell Westbrook to show up, which he did, but then there were still turnovers. The league is way more complete than 1 or 2 players, star players, and that's what LeBron James will have to navigate.
So we've all seen the different versions of LeBron, right? There is passive-aggressive LeBron. There's subtweeting LeBron. Okay, there's
I've seen them all.
Very frustrated. And it's great content, right? We always have something to talk about. This is the best version of LeBron, where he could say a lot of things right now. He could be very frustrated right now, but he's out there saying, I'm fine. Our team is fine. We don't even know what our team is. I can do some pretty easy math for you. 17 different starting lineups. They played 32 games. That's a different starting lineup more than half the time. Yeah. Okay? This is a different kind of year for the Lakers, and I think LeBron recognizes that. If he wanted to exert frustration, pressure, turn up the tension on this team, he would do it. He would just send a subtweet out there right now. He knows how to do that. Now, and not only did he say, I'm fine, I played 34 minutes. In these 14 games that he's been back since he came back from all his ailments, okay, the stomach, and then he was out for with a health and safety protocols for one game, he's averaging 37 minutes a game. That's fine. But that's a lot, but it's fine for him, and he can handle that.
I agree. LeBron James has been sensational, but my question to you then is, is that enough, for the Lakers as currently constructed? Because a lot of times we look like star players should be able to get you wins. It's not the case anymore.
No. And the reason they chose to go and trade for Russell Westbrook, okay, over the Buddy Hield package, over other opportunities that they had, is the Lakers knew LeBron James, Anthony Davis have missed a lot of games the last 2 years. Okay? They're older, they're injury prone, there are things happening in the league. And on the nights when one or both of LeBron or AD is not able to play, they wanted another star. That would be Russell Westbrook. There have been signs that he is getting better in the roles that they have prescribed for him, but the last 2 games, 13 turnovers. 13 turnovers in 2 games. That's not going to work.
But Ramona, okay, so then if we know LeBron James is probably maxing out what he can do for his age, and look, he's averaging 30, so we can't even reference age at this point in time, but where can the Lakers find some help? Because it's not like LeBron 30, AD's not coming back. I know guys have been in and out of the lineups, but where can the Lakers find help on their roster?
They need to find some consistency at point guard and more of a true point guard. Russell Westbrook can play point guard, obviously, but in some ways they would be better off with somebody who can be more of instead of a scoring point guard, to take some of that playmaking off of LeBron, because when AD is not there, LeBron has to play the 5. He has to play in the big role there, and that's a lot for him.
Yeah, no, so, Chiney, if you're looking at this roster right now as constructed, do you think the Lakers, they don't even have a lot of flexibility? Is this a team that makes a move, or even if they make a move, they'd probably be stuck somewhere right in the 4 or 5 spot?
I wouldn't make a move right now. Right now, the league it's a very difficult position for teams. Everyone's getting call-ups based on the current health circumstances. I think you hold tight. Get everyone healthy and see what happens in the future.
Yeah, and also you have Taylor Horton-Tucker coming out of the protocols. Yeah, 1 for 13 last night. We saw normal. Shaq try to say he could do better, but obviously could not last night, which was great TV last night. But Taylor Horton-Tucker can play some point guard when he is given that role, and I think with AD out, Taylor Horton-Tucker. It really is, to me, the key for them. If you can't go find a point guard, maybe you have one on your roster right now.
Yeah, and don't forget Kendrick Nunn, a